The main rules for using liquid tempera paint include 1. Wash and then dry your brush before you switch colors. 2. Only adults pour new paint into the paint trays. And 3. We only mix colors from the tray into the white mixing tray, or on our project directly. We never pour paint into the little 6-well mixing tray. Today we're going to talk about using liquid tempera paint, and we're going to be talking about it specifically regarding painting our clay. Notice the difference between these two paint trays. One is very clean and one is not. The reason behind that is that the clean one has been used properly, and the one that's not so clean maybe had some mistakes made with its use. We'll talk about those in just a little bit. As you are painting your clay, you're going to dip straight into the color that you want to use and then paint the clay. It's just like if you were painting a paper, but it might take a little bit more time to get all of the white spots filled in. You'll notice here that as I went around, I had some lighter areas that I wanted to cover back up. Obviously, the video is sped up. You will need to take your time and do your very best. Unlike glaze, since we are painting this clay, we can paint the inside, and it's unnecessary, but you could paint the bottom of your cupcake if you wanted to. Just please remember to take your time. Again, the video is in time lapse, so this is not the speed that I actually painted this product. When you see the little white areas, it's okay to dab the brush into those little crevices or cracks if you need to get the paint in there. Just be very gentle as you are doing that. The most important way to keep your paint tray clean is by rinsing your brush before you switch colors, and also drying the brush off before you dip into the next color of paint. If we take dirty water from the water cup into the paint, that is one of the major things that makes it really dirty. So please rinse, dry, and then switch colors every time when you're going from one color to the next. I think it's a great idea to paint the places between your coils first, so you know you've got all the white covered up, and then go back in and paint the color that you want to use. If you want to paint your cupcake more than one color, that's totally fine. I would definitely recommend using colors that live next to each other on the color wheel. There is a color wheel on the whiteboard and on the bulletin board at the back of the room for you to use as reference. So I'm using the hot colors. I chose red, pink, and orange. Pink is not on the color wheel, but it is a tint of red, so I knew it would fit well in there. So as you're painting, just continue that process of adding color carefully. I can't say it enough, it looks like I'm using the brush a lot more aggressively than I actually am in real life because of the sped up nature of this video. So please be very gentle as you're rinsing your brush, as you're drying it. Don't try to go as fast as it looks like I am in the video. If you are going to mix colors, I thought my colors weren't blending very well, so I decided to get a mixing tray. We never squirt the paint directly into the mixing tray. We always take a little bit of each color, rinse our brush between, and put the colors in the mixing tray that way. Adults are the only people who will be squeezing the paint from the plastic bottles into the paint trays. They should only be filled up halfway, and I think part of the reason we were having some really messy paint trays earlier on is that they were getting way too overfilled. So thank you for raising your hand and telling an adult if you need a new color or if you need a refill of a color. You can also bring the paint tray to the adult and politely ask for a refill, but we never refill the paint on our own. As I'm adding the orange here, I wanted it to blend better with the pink, but I did not want to mix the color, so I went ahead and dried the brush after I rinsed, and then I'm adding the pink over the orange while it's still wet to see if that will help them blend, and it does a pretty nice job. So that's another great way to have colors blend into a bit of a gradient if that's what you're going for. This is obviously not the only way to paint your cupcake, just a tip. This can be used on things besides clay and besides the cupcakes as well. If you're trying to make a gradient, just using one color over another while it's still wet can really help with that. I am doing something here that is maybe not always a great idea, but I'm taking the water and just kind of gently wiping it over the colors to help them blend a little bit better. The problem with that is it can really lighten the color, and it happened to me right there. So just make sure that your colors aren't getting too light or too washed out with that water. Finally, I'm adding some paint to my cherry. Do make sure that you are very careful around the edges. If you get a little paint on the icing from your cherry, it's not a big deal, but if you're really careful, you can be pretty cautious about it and keep most of it on that cherry. We will not be we won't be finished with these. We're going to add a layer of gloss to make them shiny. So even if you feel like you're finished painting, we're going to put them in the display cabinet just to let them dry and be safe until next week when we add the layer of gloss to help protect them and make them shiny. I started adding some sprinkles with some dots. I'm using actually kind of the messy little bit of blue there. If there's a little bit of paint in a spot that doesn't belong, it doesn't mean it's ruined. You can still use it. So you'll notice I started out by using the hair of the brush, and then I turned around to use the end of the brush. That's always an option. Just clean it off when you're done. Happy painting and enjoy.